Have you ever felt so caught up in the day-to-day grind that you can't focus on what really matters? You feel you're sabotaging because you're so busy, overwhelmed, and putting things off until later, but later never comes. Or maybe you're hesitant to invest in yourself because you're worried about it won't pay off. And I get it. I used to feel the same way. Today, I'm going to show you how changing your inner world and your outer world can unlock massive results. It'll help you get out of your own way, stop self-sabotaging, not just in your business, but in your life as well. So, if you don't know who I am, I'm Luke Anning. I own a Top 2% podcast. I have worked with a 300K a month team to be the growth partner, build the sales team. And now I help entrepreneurs get out of their own way and stop self-sabotaging so they can focus, grow, and scale without the overwhelm and losing out on life. So, a hot minute ago, I was helping build a sales team for a 300K a month ClickFunnels award-winning business. But we were super overwhelmed, completely overwhelmed. And coming into that business, initially, I thought, I need to sacrifice my gym here, I need to sacrifice my food, my sleep, my relationship. And the whole thing was messy. And I initially got brought into the chaos of that situation. And many entrepreneurs know what running a business can look like is like there's just absolute chaos. If you're somebody that works with clients, you'll recognize like most of your clients aren't where they want to be right now because they're scattered and overwhelmed with all the information out there. That could be you as well. But at the time we had 5 closers and 3 setters, and I was grinding 10 to 14 hours a day with no clear systems, both setting, both closing, and building in the systems for the sales team to win as well. And it felt like chaos is a good word for it. Things were falling through the cracks, processes were unclear, everyone was stressed out, and there was such a lack of internal systems for allowing us as the operators in the business to think more clearly, as well as the outer systems to actually manage that and account for that. Everybody in the team, from the integrator to the CEO to the sales team to client delivery, like this business was stuck in reactive mode where we were constantly addressing immediate tasks and immediate things that pop up instead of long-term strategy. And maybe that's you right now. Maybe you feel overwhelmed and scattered and you're unsure on how to balance growth and personal well-being. And I thought I had to sacrifice sleep, health, and gym time at the time to make sales and to contribute fully. And have you ever have a think, like, have you ever been put in a place where you're trying to expand, but the sheer amount of busy work just keeps you stuck and you're like, well, I'll come back to this later, or I'll do this another time, or like, oh, eventually I'll come back to it. But I kept thinking like if I just keep working harder, I'll eventually figure it out. And I thought if I sacrifice my sleep, if I sacrifice my routines, like that's going to be the only way to push through. It's kind of that hustle culture mindset, right? Where we got so caught up in the grind that we didn't focus on the big picture. We had no accountability, no space to reflect, and no plan to play offense. And the offense defense kind of concept here is imagine yourself, I don't know, let's say we're playing like literally any sport, but like let's say we're playing soccer, right, or football. So you've got your pitch here, you've got your goal at each end, you've got 11 players on each side. When you're in offense, when you're pushing the ball up the field, you're kicking the ball around, it's quite fun because you're in this aspect of being clear, of communicating well, boom, 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 things are moving forward. You can have a little bit of creative flair with what you're doing. But when you're in defense, when you're defending against the ball, it's quite scary. It's like, oh my gosh, we got to defend about against this, and you've got to be super reactive rather than planning and playing on your original strategy. And it's the same in like American football, right? Like offense going with a strategy, defense going with a strategy, but ultimately defense are having to react to what's on the field. Whereas offense generally are going to be, yeah, reacting to what's in the field, but they're moving the ball down. Like they're moving it all the way down here. So if you're in business and you're reacting defensively in terms of like, hey, what's happening in the day to day, and you're not mapping on the original plan, like you're gonna feel self-doubt, you're gonna feel stagnancy, you're gonna have procrastination and overwhelm coming up because you're not moving on the overall objective. You're just reacting in the day to day. So that chaos for us led to missed opportunities, people, leads, prospects, falling through the wayside, stress, not only for ourselves with what's happening in the business, but in life as well, lack of clarity, and just constantly putting out fires. And there was this aspect of me where like I felt like I was losing myself a little bit. I felt like I was losing my purpose. I didn't feel like I was being the man that I needed to be. And I just felt this heavy weight all the time. And like I just thought like if I work harder, everything will fall into place. And it couldn't have been more my past self being brought into that situation. So anyhow, I realized that staying stuck in busy work was costing us way more than stepping back and creating a time for intentional reflection. But what I realized was when I aligned my inner world, as in the emotional regulation, the clarity, with my outer world, the systems, the strategy, I was able to think clearly and make higher impact decisions. And with those higher impact decisions, I was able to come up with a bit of a strategy that allowed us to capitalize on our existing lead base in the short term and generate a ton of cash flow super fast without needing to just do tons of inputs a day. And for context, I was doing like 200 to 400 DMs, phone calls, emails a day manually, right? So it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, as well as taking sales calls and managing a team on top of that. So here's what I did. Smash the inner work. So I brought myself back to myself. I focused on my health. I set my gym routine, in place. I started getting my regular meals back in. I set boundaries in my relationships and in work, saying like, hey, like if I'm eating, like I'm going to be eating, like I'm not taking calls during that time. And I prioritized my emotional regulation and started doing EFT tapping and reading my daily manifesto. My manifesto is a little bit of a concept taken from Think and Grow Rich, where you have your future vision and you speak it out. It's something that I work on with my clients in their first 2 weeks so that they can have a foundational layer of knowing exactly what the big picture is every single day. And it's when I started also training in emotional release as well. And then on top of that, I did the outer work, which was reviewing past successes of myself I'd had building my own business before coming into this one and what had worked for others, which really like for our funnel, seeing as like at the time it was Facebook groups and using Facebook. I'm not going to get into like which strategy is best because I believe you already know what strategy is best. You're just not doing the things that you need to because you're getting in your own way because you're caught in busy work, right? But for our funnel, it was set as a simple Facebook strategy. So all we did was I went to big Facebook groups, I saw which posts had the most engagement, and then I modeled it in our own way. And then I can literally show you the post now that I used. So as you can see, like this is the Facebook group post here. This is just a module that I'll run through with clients if they are looking to work on more business stuff. But again, we really do tend to work on the emotional regulation stuff. But really, it's just I grew my Facebook group to just 500 members and did 1 million in sales in less than 1 year. The training is free before I make it paid. Want access. From here, we had over 460 comments, like crazy. So all of these people ended up going to our lead magnet, which captured emails and phone numbers. And then from there, of course, people like we as setters would dial, text, call, email them to book them into sales calls if they're a good fit, right? And if you want the framework, like I've done this with a few people. I had somebody generate 30 people for a live masterclass training just on this. It's really simple. I did a big thing with numbers and did big achievement in less than time frame. The training is free before I make it paid. So I had somebody who came up with my client dropped 2 dress sizes in 2 months during menopause and felt more confident. Live training is free before I make it paid. A real estate person that I'm friends with we went 0 to 20 million assets under management in our first year. Training is free before we make it paid. So that was the first Facebook post. Then the second Facebook post was literally just a nice smiling picture of some of the people on the team. And then we just said, after helping my clients create over 100K a month in revenue with just a 3-phase process, I sat down and created a 35-minute training breakdown for all of these, which was just a video sales letter. Normally I charge $500 per day. It's free. And then we just have all the copywriting here. So all of this was just stuff I came up off of my back with a little help with ChatGPT. And then we posted this. So the first post did 60K. and the second post did 30K. And the reason being because we had a pay in full option for the year, which was 17K, or it's 30K on payment plan with the agreement in place, that people follow through on the agreement. So like that's the post. Like there you go. It's like pretty cool. But anyhow, this only happened because I now had the emotional clarity and regulation to work smarter, and I created more space for higher impact solutions rather than just grinding every single day on the same things without reflecting. And by the way, had Facebook like actually allowed me to message more people, like we had to change the strategy and get people to message us because Facebook, like after like 100 messages, wouldn't let us send any more messages. So had we figured that out before we'd done the process, we would have generated a lot more cash flow. But anyhow, many chat is screaming at me right now. But beyond the financial results, what was beautiful is I actually gained enough clarity, reduced self-doubt and stress, and reclaimed my health and my personal life, whilst also, of course, generating way more sales in the business. And this is the same thing that happened for Justin when he went from 25K a month to 57K a month. Before he jumped on board, he was struggling with his routine. He was waking up anxious. He wasn't making always aligned decisions in the business, which meant like he was stuck at 25K a month. But because we opened up the mental space for him to be able to process and think, we were like, well, dude, like if you want to make 100K a month, like, do you have an ascension offer right now? Do you have somewhere where you can take your current clients and give them an option for paying more since you already have great results? He was like, no, not really, but I've been thinking about this ascension offer. And then we crafted it. And then from there, like he was able to upsell a huge majority of his clients into it, which is why he had that 57K month, his first month. So it's taking that aspect of working on your internal world, which allowed him to bypass this, I need to keep working harder in order to succeed, but allowed him to work smarter and upsell people into what he was already doing, which allowed him to also then make the decisions to take his current team member from just an appointment setter into an appointment setter and closer, which meant that he didn't have to take sales calls anymore. And he could essentially have his sales calls happen on autopilot with his appointment setter setting them and closing them. Like it's pretty dope. But that wouldn't happen if you get caught in the day to day, right? Like if you get caught in the day to day, if I got caught in the day to day, whilst doing all the things that an intrapreneur would do, like somebody who's basically an entrepreneur in another business, I would have just kept being an appointment setter, which I can do. I'm good at it, but it's not the highest leverage part of my skill set. It's not the part that would have allowed me to move into closing. It's not the part that would have allowed me to then go into management and building the systems, like, and doing all of that at the same time. Like, if I just got stuck in the busy day to day, I would have just burnt out. And I know many of you are probably on that journey right now where you're operating, and you're on a, and you're on a, you have this fear of like, oh, I might burn out if I keep doing this, but you're not doing anything differently. And if you're thinking like, hey, I don't have time for this right now, like ask yourself, like, how many times have you put stuff off? Thinking you're going to come back to it later, only to get stuck in the same cycle. Like you're still experiencing the same problems that you had last year with your internal self. But when you create the time for reflection and alignment, you can unlock massive results without burning out. Like think what would be genuinely possible for you if you had more time and space and felt safe and felt abundant doing that. Like what if you had the systems that allowed you to do that? What else could you achieve in life that you don't have and won't ever have if you don't change? And I was speaking to someone the other day, and it just like it blew me out of the park where she was like, "Oh, I'm kind of worried about like doing this thing, and I've got 75K in Bitcoin right now, and I want to take this next upturn. I'm having issues with anxiety. I don't have routine. I'm overwhelmed. I'm not earning the money in my day-to-day life that I want to do. I'm not building my business in the way that I want to." And she was like, "But I'm gonna hold on to my investments." And I was like, so many of you guys are holding on to investments, hoping for a future return while you're ignoring the skills and the clarity and the self-sabotaging issues that are stopping you from making money in the first place. Like, Alex Hormozy has said, I'm sure some of you guys know who he is. If you don't, worth taking a look at. But you're putting cash flow into things that might give you a 10%, 20%, maybe 100% return on investment. Like, fair enough. But you're having to wait on it. I made the 90K in 2 collective days over 2 weeks because I took control of my time and my energy management. Justin did a complete turnaround on his cash flow, went from 25K a month to 57K a month in 1 fucking month by just aligning his inner world and his outer world and merging the time management, energy management, as well as the shift in his limiting beliefs by giving him the space to be able to do that. So, like, if you're somebody who's like struggling with space right now and you feel fucking overwhelmed and you feel like, oh my God, I'm so anxious, and you feel like you're self-sabotaging, you feel like you don't have the confidence that you should as a business owner and a leader, like, you need to put yourself first. Like, why would you not invest into this? Think about the amount of areas that this is impacting, the lack of confidence, the anxiety, all of the stuff. It's not just the business, it's not just team members, it's everything else. And like, what's the cost of that? It's not even like a financially viable cost because, like, yeah, there's like a financial viable cost of you not being the person you need to be, but there's also like the financial cost of like what happens in like 30, 40 years when you die early because you have a heart attack because you didn't fix your issues with anxiety and working out of just constant stress, right? So you've got to really get fucking real with yourself here. Like, what is the value of doing the inner work? Like, imagine where you could be. Like, you could literally be like in Bali, right? Doing what you want. You could be doing what you want like this, but then not stressing about how much the business is moving forwards and knowing the business is moving forwards. Or you could just be having a way bigger impact on your communities, donating more to church or donating more to causes that matter more to you, or giving back to your parents. And rather than it being a 5 year goal, it could be something that's a year from now, even 6 months from now, being able to retire your parents or to give them help because you invested into yourself rather than stuff like Bitcoin or things that, yeah, may give you a guaranteed return. But I mean, like, what happened last time in the crypto crash? Like, so many people were so fucking greedy that they didn't take any of their profits and give that back to themselves and then continue reinvesting. They just kept all their money in and then lost a ton. And then they're like, oh, yeah, but, you know, like 3, 4 years later, like, I'm making a return again. And I'm like, yeah, 3, 4 years later. You know where I was 4 years ago? I was working a construction job and I hated my life. And now I'm in Bali and I've traveled to nearly over 30 countries by now. Worked in 7 figure businesses, generated multiple 6 figures for myself, helped over 250 people change their lives. Don't think Bitcoin is going to do that. Just don't. So if you are interested in learning a little bit more of how to get out of the grind, aligning your inner world and your outer world, and start seeing results like myself and like everybody else who enters into the neuroproductivity world, then I want to help you. Just join my free school community down below, where I'll teach you how to clear the mental clutter, emotionally regulate, and build outer work life systems that work for you, not against you, so you can stop self-sabotaging and get out of your own way. All you gotta do is click the link below to get started and make sure to like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.